After 5 maps and 10 months, this is it. Revealed on July 28th and released as a part of Black Ops 6 Season 5 on August 7th, Reckoning is the 6th and final round-based map in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Taking place just shortly after the end of Shattered Vale, with Richtofen leading them, the crew heads to the actual Janus headquarters, known as Janus Towers, to confront Sam once and for all and stop her from using the Sentinel artifact to replace Samantha Maxis. But before we get into the map itself, I'd say it's time we reckon with what has happened in the world of Black Ops 6 Zombies since my last review. Shall we? Alright, so as always, we'll go ahead and get started right off with the weapons that have been added since my last review. And since it's been a while since I uploaded, this is going to be a lot, so let's go. Across Season 4 Reloaded, as well as Seasons 5 and 6, we have gotten 10 new weapons as well as 6 new attachments. Starting where we left off, in Season 4 Reloaded, Treyarch returned to us the Goat Limpia, as well as the Pickaxe, both of which were added in the Beavis and Butthead event pass. Yeah, you heard that right. With Season 5, Treyarch added the ABR A1 Assault Rifle and the PML 556 LMG through that season's Battle Pass. Later, they added the Boxing Gloves melee weapon as a reward for the 90s Action Heroes event, as well as the Gravemark 357 revolver during Season 5 Reloaded in the Operation Hellride event. Finally, as we enter spooky season with The Haunting, Season 6 gave us the Dresden 9mm, which Zombies fans will know by its real name as the MP40, as well as the Merrick 556 Assault Rifle, both of which were featured in the Battle Pass. And our final 2 weapons for Black Ops 6 are the X52 Resonator Special Weapon, which is a reward for the Echoes of the Dead event, and finally, the Chainsaw Melee Weapon as a reward in the free track of the Chucky event pass. And as for attachments, with Season 4 Reloaded, we got the SVD full auto conversion in the Beavis and Butthead event pass, and the TR2 CQB full auto kit in the COD Tunes event. Within Season 5, we got access to the 9mm PM Skull Splitter kit through the Season 5 Battle Pass, as well as the PPSH Helical Mag within the Nuketown Block Party event pass. And to round out our weaponry, Season 6 gave us the GPR-91 double barrel conversion through the Battle Pass, as well as the GPMG-7 muzzle booster as a reward for the Echoes of the Dead event. After that slew of weaponry, let's talk about some of the other goodies that have been added along the way, which include a new support streak, a field upgrade, as well as a new gobblegum. Starting with the support streak, Season 5 brought us the return of the combat bow. And, honestly, full stop, never fucking waste your time with this. For 1250 salvage, you get 6 shots that do piss poor damage and can hardly kill anything. You're better off just buying something else or hanging on to your salvage to actually upgrade the weapon you brought in. For field upgrades, Treyarch brought the goods and finally gave us Toxic Growth. Oh, no, I mean Mr. Peaks. This field upgrade acts as a homunculus monkey bomb hybrid, where when you drop him down, he'll call the zombies over to him and ping pong around like a pinball, killing anything that gets near him. With augments, you can turn him into a standard monkey bomb, but my favorite combo is Party Animal plus Arcane Fury, which makes Mr. Peaks last longer and also activate every single ammo mod while he's killing, raising his killing potential to its absolute max. And finally, we have our new bubblegum, Jack Lanterns. This final whimsical for Black Ops 6 makes it so that for 3 minutes, all zombies that spawn will have jack-o'-lanterns on their heads. For added fun, you can combine this with holiday cheer and live out your dreams of the Nightmare Before Christmas all year round. With gameplay stuff covered, let's talk about some game health and balance stuff pushed throughout the seasons, starting with Season 4 Reloaded. This update had a massive focus on weapon attachment tuning, with just about every gun getting some kind of buff. However, this was not nearly as huge as the mid-season Cold War weapon buff from the past. They also included some brief grief updates to the griefs themselves, but the mode has all but died by now, and I haven't even played it since July, so I'm not gonna bullshit you and even try and talk about them. What I will say is how broken this update was. Season 4 Reloaded might have been as busted of an update as some of Cold War's later updates. Just to give you a little taste, when using chopper gunners, they mysteriously get pushed off course across all maps, making them a bitch and a half to use. As far as this video is concerned, this has still not been fixed, so if a Treyarch dev manages to see this, hey guys, I know there's a new Black Ops just around the corner, but please do not leave this in the game. In the same update, they claim to have fixed the logic in spawning power-ups from Gobblegums, but this led to a full season where they would never actually drop where you wanted them to. Thankfully, this was restored to how it previously worked in the Season 5 update. Speaking of, in Season 5, there aren't many major fixes to speak of, minus some more weapon buffs, as well as buffs to Shatterblast, a fix for Napalm Burst augments, as well as a fix for the Mystery Box issue I mentioned in my Shattered Veil video. But there were also some secret fixes, including a buff to the Arc XD, making it similar to its Cold War counterpart, meaning it can finally kill with the detonation attack. It's only been almost a whole year, but better late than never. As well as Lightmend, Shatterblast, and the Grim Reaper being added to both Sam Trial loot pools, as well as ground loot. However, Double Tap is still seemingly MIA for some reason. Also during Season 5, the community discovered a way to activate the Ether remix on the Tomb. In order to do this, you must shoot 115 on both of the murals that light up during the Ice Staff quest in under a minute or so, after which the song will play. Go community! Season 5 Reloaded came and went without many advertised fixes, but again did some silent changes that were real head scratchers. This included a change to the Strauss counterstep on Liberty Falls, so if you were ever using my video to do that, maybe don't now. Hey y'all, post-Season 6 update Sam here, just to give a heads up, the step has been readjusted to how it worked basically all year, so keep doing it how you've been doing it, kings, queens, and everyone in between. Anyways, back to the recap. There also seems to be a bug with the Mark II-W and Mark II-R in which their damage values aren't what they used to be. So, awesome sauce. Honestly, there are a couple of things that are broken that were oddly changed, but I don't want to beat a dead horse, so I hope Treyarch can come in and fix all of this before this game gets left in the dust. But, seeing as how Season 6 didn't include any major fixes or changes, I'm starting to think these things may be permanently left broken, unfortunately. And to truly wrap up our recap, let's talk game modes. There haven't been too many, but in Season 4 Reloaded, we were blessed with the Abomination Challenge as well as the Starting Room LTM. The Abomination Challenge took place on a cel-shaded version of Liberty Falls, with Beavis and Butthead commenting on the game, and using a mix of rules from both Zombie Snacks and Cranked. So basically, if you get your kills, you could enter flow state, and you also needed snacks to heal, but thankfully there was no movement penalty. This mode also used Crank spawning, as it's more time-based than kill-based, and featured every enemy type in the game up to that point. So Liberty Falls could have Manglers, Mimics, Doppelgas, Parasites, Vermin, Amalgams, Toxic Zombies, and Elder Disciples, which sounds like a nightmare, but was so much fucking fun, let me tell you. However, the true point of the mode was the abomination itself. Named Mo, this HVT was one tough bastard. He was extremely buffed, could make you drop all of your perks if hit with his charge attack, was always aggro no matter what, and did significantly more damage to you than a normal abomination. He also had a unique debuff where the more damage you dealt to him from one weapon, the less damage that weapon would do over time. If killed successfully, Mo would explode into a shitload of loot, and you could either keep playing and exfil on your time, or just exfil immediately. If you played this when it was out, then you got the Abomination Challenge calling card, which was a neat reward, I guess. Now the starting room LTM, this one was where it was at. Taking place across all maps that were available at the time, this does exactly what it claimed to do. You get locked into the spawn room of each map. However, in a unique twist, any utilities that are available in that spawn room are active. So in the Tomb, this means that Pack-a-Punch, the Armory, and PhD Flopper are all available to you. But in something like Shattered Veil, for example, that just means the Mystery Box. On top of that, to make sure you didn't just blow your Gobblegums, the game also spawned free perk power-ups occasionally to make sure you had a fighting chance. As opposed to one reward, each map had a Gobblegum Pack reward for reaching a unique round milestone on each map. It wouldn't be until Season 5 Reloaded that Zombies got another LTM, this time the return of Team Cranked with refreshed rewards for beating the quests after round 30. And finally, in Season 6, we have Haunted Havoc, which at first just seems like a standard Halloween LTM, but in reality is the return of the pumpkin event that us Cold War fans will remember dearly. To those who didn't play during that game's haunting, across all maps, Outbreak, and Onslaught, zombies would wear pumpkins on their heads, which they had a chance to drop when killed. When opened, you could get anything from ether tools to chalices to higher tier armor, and even the map's wonder weapon if you were lucky. This also included tricks of a mimic spawning across all maps, even when they didn't do that naturally. This was an amazing time to play the game, and it led to an insanely fun Halloween event. Well, this mode follows a similar rule set, but adds the fact that the Rampage Inducer is permanently enabled. To counteract this, the zombies will move slowly earlier in the game, but they'll hit harder during the first 15 rounds, after which they'll start speeding up. There were also Gobblegum rewards tied to completing every main quest in the mode while the haunting was active for those who wanted an additional goal. Woo-wee! Well, with all that yap, let's say we finally get into the reckoning, shall we? Now that we've reached the good, aha! You can't fool me a third time, Treyarch. There is no intro cutscene for this map, so eat that. When we start the map, we arrive at the reception area of Tower 1, and after walking through the metal detectors, an explosion goes off, showing just how critical the situation is. Richtofen will come on the comms and explain our mission, restore the ether reactors while he works to discover where Sam has taken the artifact. After round 1 has ended, Sam will reach out to whatever character you're playing as to try and appeal to them as for why she lied. Alternatively, if you're a non-canon operator, she'll try to reach out to Ravenov, who will immediately brush her off. And then, on round 3, get ready folks, our beloved John Blanchard will start speaking over the radio to warn the team to watch out for Panos, picking up on the Liberty Falls plot that has been running since October of last year. The spawn of this map offers 2 distinct paths that you can take, which manifest themselves in the ether elevators. These flashy additions have you slip into the dark ether itself and launch you up to either the Mutant Research Lab or the Quantum Computing floor. Mutant Research will bring you up to the higher floor and give you access to Dickhead Daiquiri as well as PhD Slider, while Quantum Computing will bring you up to the Mushroom biome with Melee Macchiato, which, fun fact, hasn't had a machine since Citadel. Also featured on this floor is Sleight of Hand Soda. Regardless of which path you choose, both floors feature an anti-gravity personnel launcher aimed towards Tower 2. Whenever you're ready, hop in and prepare to... straight to the other side. When you arrive in Tower 2, you'll be placed in the Android Assembly, which gives an eerily similar feeling to Heisenberg's factory from Resident Evil 8. Between this and Citadel giving serious RE4 vibes, someone on the team has gotta be a big Resident Evil fan, right? Inside the factory, you'll see plenty of Klaus Robot's bodies strewn about, as well as Double Tap Root Beer's perk machine returning from Shattered Veil. To progress, there's yet another ether elevator that, when taken, will send you up to the highest floor in Tower 2, that being Dark Entity Containment. Here, you'll pass the ball that the Forsaken was captured in at the end of Cold War. Also in this room is Stamina Up in case you're in the need for speed. After one more trip, this time through a personnel launcher, you'll be on the top floor of Tower 1, the Executive Suite, which features Juggernaut Soda. But before we cross through here, just want to point out that if you look from this balcony and you have a weapon with a scope on it, you can actually see both Liberty Falls and the mansion. Really interesting how you've been able to see Janus Towers since launch while in aerial score streaks. How far we've come. Alright, after opening the only door on the floor, you'll be able to enter the director's office, which houses Elemental Pop, as well as the snow globe that was last seen in the Forsaken outro, but has a history dating back to the Zombies Chronicles days. Doing so will open a hidden portal, which will take you to sub-level 10 in Tower 2. This holds the main controls for the ether reactors, alongside the return of Vulture Aid for the first time since Citadel. Hell yeah! Entering the control room and hitting the big red button will temporarily restore functionality, but after a quip from either Strauss or Dr. Peck, everything will go haywire, and Richtofen will scream at the top of his lungs for the crew to fix it. To do this, simply destroy the 12 ether crystals that spawn on the pipes around the room, after which the ether reactors will exit the critical zone and Pack-a-Punch will spawn in, but will be floating due to the lack of gravity. This will actually happen periodically throughout the rest of the match, in a similar way to the Pyramid Room on Dreisendrach. So with our map progression covered, let's dive into the Reckoning, shall we? While not the biggest map in the game, Reckoning offers us something we really haven't had in zombies since Die Rise, which is a serious emphasis on verticality. In Tower 1, you can freely jump off the edge on any floor and parachute down to the lower floor, and it creates this super fun and unique gameplay loop. My absolute favorite thing is to equip the fall damage augment on Stamina Up and just fling my body off the ledges to get to wherever I need to go. Besides the verticality, Reckoning is a close quarters map, but only because the larger areas are littered with garbage, debris, and other set dressings to illustrate the tower's deterioration. Places like the reception lobby, as well as the executive suite, despite boxing you in, are still incredibly freeing to run around and train to your heart's content. However, for only the second time in this series, I am saying that this is definitely a training map more than anything else, with some of my favorite locations being the Dark Entity Containment, the reception area, and my absolute favorite, Sub-Level 10. That anti-gravity feature makes training here so much fun, but be sure to be careful when that turns off. Okay, so with all of that covered, let's get into the vibe, which, while not among some of the greats like Terminus or Shattered Veil, I think still does a fantastic job for what it's trying to accomplish. There's a certain sense of desolation in this map that I think shows itself quite well in areas like the reception area, as well as the Android Assembly and Dark Entity Containment. But then you also have areas like both of the labs that highlight the work that Project Janus has done at these towers. I want to specifically call out the Quantum Computing Lab, which features the fantastic flora and fauna of the Dark Ether, which has always been a standout. One last room to point out is this area next to the director's office, which blends the colors of the projector screen with the blueprint for Sam with the bright pink and blues of Elemental Pop, which looks so fucking good, dude. So, Reckoning has got aura and spades, but y'all got any hype moments? To that, I must say yes. Our latest wonder weapon is the Gorgafex, an interesting bioorganic creation from the mind of Dr. Pericles Panos and his shadow benefactor. While you can retrieve this wonder weapon from the box or from its buildable quest, for the first time in what feels like forever, you can only gamble for this wonder gun after someone has built it in your match. So without further ado, let's get into the quest. After restoring power to the towers, return to the mutant research lab and check out these two computers that have static on them. Occasionally, they will flash a random word on screen, which you must note the first letter of. Once you retrieve both words, combine the two initials and head to this periodic table on the wall to find your chemical. Here, you're looking for their atomic number, which can be found on the top left of the little box on the periodic table. Once done, head up these stairs and interact with the keypad on the wall and use your atomic number. If it is only 2 digits, throw a 0 in front of it to make sure it fits the 3-digit requirement. Once opened, Blanchard will comment some silly line about Panos, and you'll have access to the next step. In one of the chemical hoods is a weird chungus fungus bungus. Sorry. And then Blanchard will react to by throwing out a line that rivals the Dennis Riffle quote from Liberty Falls.
Is it live ammo if it's a living weapon? Or would that be alive ammo? Never mind.
Panos will twirl his villain mustache and yell at you for meddling with his creation, and you can begin to feed the fungus. To do this efficiently, follow these steps. First, you'll need to feed the big fungus, vermin. So shoot zombies in the body to ensure that the vermin crawl out of their heads. Shoot the vermin one at a time, once or twice when they're near the hood so that the fungus will suck them up. After repeating this process, you'll then need to do the same for zombies, which can be done by simply shooting them a few times till the fungus eats them up like Kobayashi. The hood will open up and you'll be able to pick up the fungus, which you must then take down to the quantum computing lab. There will be 3 mushrooms taking up 2 mushroom that you must stand next to while the fungus absorbs their energy? I'm really not too sure, but once that's done, your character will give some vegan-related quote, and you can head up to Dark Entity Containment. Once you reach the room, Panos or Blanchard will comment on the Forsaken, and you must look for a computer that says Initiate Power Surge, which will start a short timer, and you must loop the room and interact with all 4 computers before the surge dies. If done correctly, the containment chamber should be charged up and an Uberklaus should spawn. What you'll want to do then is weaken him by destroying both of his shield generators. But if you are a bit too strong for this step, don't worry, as the game will continue to spawn Uberklauses until you get it right. After you do that, you can take him to this pad right in front and center of the Forsaken Chamber and watch what happens next. Etheric energy will leak out of the containment sphere and... Surprise! You're now locked into a mini boss fight with the Forsaken. While he takes the form of an Uberklaus, he is much more aggressive and hits a lot harder, so be sure to keep your distance and deal with him quickly. Throughout the fight, he will spawn zombies as well as commando Klauses to try and distract you, but focus on the prize and you'll be just fine. After destroying the suit as you would normally, a mini Forsaken will jet out, and after killing that, a portal will spawn, which you can interact with, so Big Fungus and the Forsaken Soul can merge to birth the Gorgafex. This pistol, which holds a strange resemblance to the gun from High on Life, is fairly strong, with a base shot that can kill single targets, as well as a charge shot that can kill zombies or cause them to levitate up into the air before dying. However, if you want the real wonder weapon, you'll want to go a step further and finish the upgrade process. In the name of player choice, Reckoning offers 2 distinct wonder weapon paths that you can choose from. However, once on one path, you cannot switch, so be sure to choose wisely. After taking the wonder weapon, Blanchard will call players to his office in the executive suite, and interacting with the door will reveal a full in-game model for our lovable little guy. He pleads with the team to try and help him capture Panos, but Panos will chime in, urging us to chase even more power by betraying Blanchard, so your choice becomes clear as day. You must choose between either helping Blanchard or Panos, which will reward you with either the Gorgafex C or Gorgafex N, respectively. And we'll be covering the C in this section of the video because fuck you and the horse you rode in on, Panos. I would never kill my goat Blanchard. So to follow the Blanchard quest, head down to reception and into the security room to interact with this big red button, which will lock you onto the C path for your match. A helper Klaus will appear, and you must defend him while he reboots the ether elevator heading to the quantum computing lab. After doing so successfully, Panos will begin to gloat, but just at the same moment, the elevator will shut down, trapping him in the shaft as a ball of energy. Take the elevator to mutant research and drop down to quantum computing, at which point you must parachute down the elevator shaft and pull these 3 levers by interacting with them as you fall. Doing so will turn the elevator back on and send Panos into the room, where Blanchard will tell us to try and turn Panos back into a human so we can arrest him. To do this, you must kill 5 blue-eyed zombies with your Gorg effects, and the energy will combine with the ball to reconstitute Panos. He will deliver some generic villain dialogue of how we foiled his plans, but when you interact with him, he will begin to get sucked into the Gorg effects, making him and the Forsaken bunk buddies in your new Wonder Gun. The Gorg Effect C holds the ability to create an energy mine-like explosion with its charge shot that deals significant AoE damage. Once taken to the Pack-a-Lunch, you will get the Gorg Effect's Corpse Exploder, which just enhances all of its base qualities. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, hey, Big Sam, Sam Take Out Mars, Sam, or whatever the hell it is you call yourself, what about the Gorg Effects in the box? Is that still the regular version? And I'm glad you did, because Treyarch actually thought about that. If one player decides to do the Gorg Effect C, for example, once completed, the regular Gorg Effects in the box is replaced by the Gorg Effects N to make sure that anyone else who wants the Wonder Weapon isn't left with a 950-point paperweight unable to be pack-a-punched. So, with our waffle weapons acquired, let's get a tactical analysis of the newest enemies that Project Janus oh so graciously delivered to us. This time, we have 2 distinct Black Ops 6 enemies, both of which take the form of 2 unique Klaus models. We'll start with the smaller of the duo, those being the Commando Klauses. These take the place of our special enemies, though parasites and vermin do still spawn on this map through the evolutionary chain. These updated Klauses have the ability to fly, and will suicide bomb you when they get within a few feet of you. Not only that, but they will also yap a bit and have the same razor-sharp humor that our beloved Klaus had in Mauer, which is a total gem. Also, I should note that just like the toxic zombies on Shattered Veil, these enemies don't spawn in during normal gameplay, so you won't have to worry about being sneak attacked by an exploding bastard. And as for our elite enemy, we have the Uberklaus. While he may share some characteristics with the Panzers that came before him, he is a complete beast in his own right. When he spawns in on round 16, he'll charge out of a barricade near you and instantly start rushing you. He has a few attacks, including a standard slap, as well as a ranged melee hit where his rocket fist will detach, similar to the Panzer Claw from Origins. But his strongest is his longer ranged attack, which he whips out when you get too far away from him. If Uberklaus recognizes you're too far, he'll stop moving and launch several electric projectiles that, once on the field, will linger and do serious true damage to you while you stand in them. So regardless of what level of armor you have equipped, these electricity pulls will destroy your health and are absolutely no joke. Hey y'all, post-Season 6 Sam back again for the second time in this video. So it would seem that these electricity pools received a major nerf in the Season 6 update, which is a massive bummer. Still love this enemy a whole bunch, but this nerf was a bit extreme in my opinion, and a little bit too far in the direction of making this enemy a bit of a snoozer. Oh well, on with the video I suppose. So how do you kill this Mecha Menace? Well, when he spawns, his core will be vulnerable, but after taking some damage, his shields will activate and you'll have to avert your focus to his shield generators just above his shoulders. Doing enough damage to this will destroy it, dealing a chunk of damage and making him easier to kill once both shields are down. When his health hits 0, his mech suit will self-destruct and eject the Klaus core. This little menace to society will fly just above your head like the Commando Klaus and retain the ability to launch electric projectiles at you, but it is significantly weaker. Once he reaches 25% health, he'll enter self-destruct mode, but since his health is so low, it really doesn't matter. I really love this boss, not just because it's unique in being 2 bosses in one, similar to the Megaton from Cold War, but because it offers a truly unique challenge that we really haven't seen in Black Ops 6. I love the Amalgam, the Elder Disciple, and the Abomination, but Uberklaus operates on a level above all of those other bosses. The fact that he does true damage to you is so interesting to me, and I think it truly emphasizes spatial awareness, which to me is the difference between a top tier and a bad zombies player. Alongside our Klaus duo, players can expect a pretty chill experience, with the only special enemies that spawn being the Vermin, Parasites, and Doppelgast after round 22. Before we transition to side quests, let's discuss traps. Reckoning introduces the Caster Turret, which stands for Cognitive and Adaptive System for Target Elimination and Reinforcement. These turrets have a couple of different locations around the map and can be activated for 500 points to start out. When they are activated, They will shoot etheric projectiles that will linger on the ground for a few seconds after impact, and will deal damage to both the undead as well as you. But it actually doesn't stop there. While the oil trap in Citadel could be enhanced, for the first real time since Mob of the Dead, the caster turret has an upgrade path. The steps to do this are real simple, and just revolve around you activating the turrets a certain number of times. After the turrets have been used 5 times, a special zombie will spawn that, once killed, will drop a hard drive. This drive can be taken to quantum computing and inserted into this computer, which is also used during the main quest. In order to open it, you must buy Melee Macchiato and punch the slot, which will reveal the space for the hard drives. Inserting it will start a short defense sequence, which can be easily cheesed if you just save one zombie and body block him from hitting the terminal. Once finished, the caster turret will now be at level 2.0, the trap will now cost 850 points, and the projectiles will now be blue, and they will no longer deal any splash damage to the player. In order to progress to stage 3, you need to activate the trap a total of 10 times, find the hard drive, and defend the machine. At this stage, the trap will cost 1200 points, as well as have an increased area of effect, making it a great help against Uberklaus. Finally, to reach stage 4, you must activate the trap 15 times and repeat the other steps. In this final form, the caster turret 4.0 will cost 1550 points and be able to activate Brain Rot on enemies caught in its field. Interestingly, this seems to carry your augments with the effect, so it isn't some super weak version of the ammo mod. Unless of course you use the distraction augment like I do, then it's just kinda whatever. So with all of that, let's get into the side Easter eggs in this map, of which there are plentiful. We'll start with my absolute favorite, the Ether Blade. MWZ sufferers will recognize this Hell's Retrievers variant as one of the first classified schematics added during that game's lifecycle. To obtain this piece of equipment, players must first find 3 paintings in Heisenberg's factory, sub-level 10, and the security room that opens up after power has been restored. While you can only hold one at a time, each painting can be taken to this spot in the executive suite, where there are very clearly paintings missing. Placing each one will reward the player with 500 essence, and once completed, you'll be able to progress the Blade quest. In the director's office, if you activate the Mr. Peaks field upgrade near this painting on the wall, the Devil Rabbit will target it and knock it out of place, revealing a safe. From here, if you head into Dark Entity and equip an Arc XD, you can navigate it through this small space here underneath the Forsaken container and follow the path. At the end, there will be an ether crystal that you must detonate the car next to that will create a portal. This portal will ascend through the floor, leaving crystals on the back side of the Forsaken chamber that must be destroyed. When the last one is destroyed, the key to the safe will drop. To round this out, head back to the director's office and open that bitch up. Once done, a portal will open up and a bit of an attack sequence will start with vermin, parasites, and an HVT disciple spawning to try and prevent you from obtaining the Ether Blade. Deal with the undead bastards and the boomerang will be yours. Similar to its appearance in MWZ, the Ether Blade can kill up to 3 nearby zombies at a time and has a 5-second cooldown between uses. Most interesting to me, at least, if you use the Hotfoot augment on stamina, which gives you a speed boost for equipment kills, you can, in theory, infinitely chain this boost, since the boost lasts longer than the cooldown of the blade itself.
I'm fast as fuck, boy. Still fast as fuck, boy.
Moving on, let's discuss my other favorite side Easter egg from this map, the garbage bins. If you're like me and your favorite Always Sunny character is the Trash Man, you'll probably enjoy this one. Around Tower 1, there are 8 upright trash cans that, once interacted with, can possibly spit out loot. The draw here is absolutely diabolical. Sometimes it's as simple as a piece of salvage or a rinky-dink grenade, but other times it can be an ether tool of any rarity or even the fabled ray gun, Ray AAA gun. Of the 8 cans, only 4 can drop loot. But once you have dug through 4, the final trash can directly in the spawn area will start glowing. Interacting with this will cause the trash man to descend and give you a whole bunch of loot, including points, salvage, equipment, and a random score streak.
That's my character. I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage. And then I pick up the trash can and I smash the guy on the head.
From there, we'll take a look at our free perk quest, which involves Mr. Peaks. In order to do this, you'll want to head up to the executive suite and look down the tower to this device in the mutant research lab. While it's nearly a speck, you'll notice a black mass that, if you shoot, will start glowing. That mass was actually Mr. Peaks, and he'll float up to the railing on the executive suite where he can be interacted with. Once done, he'll giggle like a chud and start flying down the tower, leaving rings behind him. You must parachute behind him and fly through each ring like it's 1999 and Superman 64 just dropped. If you make it through each hoop in one go, when you reach the lobby, a free perk will spawn, and one of our radio buddies will comment on that fucking rabbit.
Did the fluffy wuffy bunny rabbit weave you some num-nums? For fuck's sake.
While there is another general free perk, it relies on some information from the main quest, so we'll save that one for then and talk about the return of the specific free Deadshot Easter egg. If you go to Mutant Research and shoot either of these dummies while standing in the doorway/balcony near the mystery box spawn, one of them, when shot, will play an Easter egg completion noise, at which point a set of cans will spawn on the crane nearby. Using a weapon with a scope on it, just like Liberty Falls, if you hit every single can on the fence without missing, you will be rewarded with Deadshot Daiquiri. After that, we once again, just like every other map in the game, have a way to spawn all 8 core power-ups, many of which seem way more useful in this map, I must say. From here, we'll get into some gear-related things, starting with the Sharpshooter quest. Once power has been restored, if you go to the spawn and stand on the Project Janus logo in front of the reception desk, you can shoot the Janus logo on the screen in front of you to start a Sharpshooter minigame. Your screen will go gray, and targets will spawn around the room and must be shot in the time allotted in order to obtain your reward. Thankfully, zombies will ignore you whilst this happens, making it way easier to do in solo. If done successfully, it will reward you with a free ammo mod. However, that isn't where this one ends. If you flip the round, you can do it again, where this time there will be 2 targets on each round that must be shot in order to progress to the end. If done, you'll get an ether tool that scales based on the round. Finally, if you flip the round one last time, you can do it again, but this time it will have 3 targets per round, and they will move back and forth, making them harder to shoot/see. If you win, you will get a pap crystal that, just like the ether tool, will scale with the round. The last major side quest to mention is the Etherella companion quest. To start this, head to the window in the spawn and use one of your sprays on this stall. The door will open up and there will be a mini Etherella on the floor. At this point, you'll need the Gorg effects to progress, so knock that out and come back to the stall, at which point you need to shoot her with a charge shot of the weapon, and she will float around behind you. While she'll follow you, she won't exactly do much, so you'll need to head to sub-level 10 and hop into the particle accelerator beam to turn into an orb. Etherella will get stuck in the beam, and the final step is to once again become an orb and navigate the trash to interact with her. When you fall out of the beam, she'll come to life, spitting out her lines just like the trap in Liberty Falls, and shooting her laser beam at any zombies you look at. After a couple of rounds, she'll go away, but eventually she'll respawn in the beam, and you can activate her all over again. Okay, so with the bigger ones covered, let's hit some of the smaller ones, starting with the best of them all, the chicken bucket hat. In the dining area in the executive suite, there will be a bucket of freedom fried chicken on the shelf that can be dislodged with a grenade. When done, 6 drumsticks will land all over the room and must be collected and placed back in the bucket, at which point it will be placed on your head. Fun fact, this will also show on the head of the mutant injection, which is fucking amazing. While we are in the executive suite, let's talk Casimirs. If you get a Casimir, whether you build one or you get one from Sam Trial, you can Kobe it into the Janus logo from the back, which will create a soul box on the other side. If you fill this up, it will spit out another Casimir, and this can be repeated for the rest of your match. But do be warned, the more times you do this, the more kills it will take, so be wary of how much time you spend farming your infinite Casimir glitch. Now, we've actually got 2 music Easter eggs, so we'll start with this one in the director's office. On the wall next to the pool table, there's a set of billiards balls. If you shoot out 1, 1, and 5 from different shelves, not only will a free self-revive spawn, it will also start playing a new remix of Samantha's Soul, performed by Leo Sartwell. Heads up, also, make sure that the pool balls are from different shelves, as this egg can actually be permanently failed if you don't. And the other quest you can do involves the metal detectors in the spawn. If you face the metal detectors after you turn the power on and label them 1, 2, and 3, you can run through them in the pattern of 1, 3, 2 a handful of times. When done successfully, a white flash will play, and Richtofen will give a quote about recognizing the tune. The song in question is Samantha's Piece, which all of us will recognize as the Is This Playable song from Tog to Toten's outro. Kind of a dick move of Nikolai to make this the soundtrack to the heat death of the multiverse, but what can you do? To start winding this down, this map features a jump scare. If you grab a sniper, you can head over to this spot in the executive suite and aim out to the mountain. You'll notice a picnic blanket, like the one we saw in the Liberty Falls intro, and after staring at it, the fucked up, twisted version of me, aka Eddie's son Samuel, will spook you like Freddy Fazbear. Our second to last side thing is the return of the Liberty Falls vending machine in the Android assembly. Just like Liberty Falls, you can melee it once around to get rewards, or you can punch it with Melee Macchiato and it'll blow up, dropping more rewards. And our final side thing I want to mention is the grand return of the pool table 100 points. No matter what else I say in this review, know that this is the best map in the game purely for this fact. Bravo, Treyarch. Bravo. Okay, now without any further delays, let's get into the Easter egg and the story of this map. Taking place just a few short hours after the end of Shattered Veil, our motley crew of Weaver, Carver, Gray, Maya, Raptor 1, Strauss, Peck, Ravenov, and Richtofen arrive at Janus Towers. With the outbreak allowed to fester over the last few weeks, the towers have gone critical and are on the verge of collapse. As we enter through the reception lobby, Richtofen reminds us of our mission: restore the ether reactors and stop Sam at any means necessary. Just after that, Sam will come over the radio and try to plead her case to her former allies. However, with her pleas come a real revelation: the fact that the true Samantha Maxis has died. Sam claims that she was consumed by the Forsaken after she weakened him enough to be captured at Test Site Anna in 1985. She'll blame Richtofen for letting her die in that orb, which will begin a bit of a back and forth between the two as they both make attempts to get you on their side. Regardless, the crew will carry forward in their mission to restore the towers while also pondering the dilemma before them. Once the ether reactors are restored to full function, Richtofen will say that Sam has locked down Tower 3 and has begun the process to activate the Sentinel artifact, so it is up to us to restore access and make our way over there. But first, he asks that the team make a quick stop in the mutant research lab to grab something necessary for the process. When heading down there, the crew finds a test tube with the failed clones of Mary and Samuel. When passing this room, a special geneticist zombie will spawn, and when killed, it will drop a keycard. This can be used on the fridge near the tube and contains the last vial of DNA samples for Mary and Sammy, so Richtofen will urge you to be careful with them. Also, while you're in the mutant research lab, you can walk over to this test tube with the Mangler and interact with the centrifuge next to it. Doing so will reward you with a syringe that'll come in handy later. After committing regicide and obtaining the Gorg effects, you can really start getting down to business. One thing I really love about this Easter egg is that it really emphasizes taking things at your own pace and doing things in the order that you want. So I'll try and share things as I would do them, and maybe this will help you out a little bit. First, you must find the parts to repair Klaus, which means finding 2 legs and 2 arms. The legs can be found in these 4 locations around Android Assembly. Since there are only 2 legs, only 2 spawn locations will be taken per match. To get the arms, you must wait for the Commando Klaus rounds and aim for the arms of the robots. You can't get more than 1 arm per round, so once you get an arm, you can just focus on ending that round. Here, I can recommend that during the Forsaken fight, he'll actually spawn Klauses to try and throw you off of your game and get you down, so you can actually get an additional arm from those spawns as opposed to waiting for the secondary Klaus round. When all 4 parts have been obtained, head to Android Assembly near the vending machine and throw him back together. However, he won't be powered on, so you must get an Uber Klaus to launch his electricity ball near the Klaus to actually power him up. While you can wait until round 16 to do this, since the Gorg effect spawns an Uber Klaus whenever you are doing that step, you can actually just take Uber Klaus down from Dark Entity Containment and use him to power up Klaus, saving yourself some time. If all of his body parts are placed on him when he comes to life, he'll jump off the place and start beep booping on the computers next to him. But if you're missing his arms or legs, he'll just hang around until you finish collecting all the parts. Small note: if you have any active SAM trials on the map, you should do them before you activate Klaus, as his steps will disable trials from spawning for a couple of rounds while you do this. Alright, so with Klaus powered on and doing his thing, you can head to sublevel 10 and wait for the particle beam to spawn a bunch of junk inside of it. Among this trash is the corpse of Janus scientist Sean Fowler. Hop into the beam to become an energy ball and navigate till you get to his body and interact with it, knocking it to the ground. Using the syringe, you can extract Fowler's DNA and take it back to the centrifuge to inject it into the Mangler. This will transfer Fowler's consciousness into the Mangler, and he'll begin to wonder what happened to him. Richtofen will try to calm him down, but Fowler will blame him for what has happened and become enraged. The team will have to take down the HVT Mangler in order to get the special mutant injection necessary to get past the DNA scanner in Dark Entity containment. While you fight the Mangler, the other test tubes holding the toxic zombies and the Elder Disciple will open up, meaning you'll have to take them out as well. With the Fowler injection in hand, you can head up to the Rebirth Island biometric scanner in Dark Entity containment and activate it to scan yourself to open the door. Before we continue on, I want to break for a second to talk about some of the quest dialogue and where our crew finds themselves. The dilemma left before them creates a very interesting dynamic between the crew, and not just the playable characters, but also our radio buddies as well. Within the group, they go back and forth on whether or not they will go through with helping Richtofen regain his family after the revelations from Shattered Vale. Despite their anger towards Sam for the betrayal at Colton Hall, both Maya and Carver share some sympathy for her. Maya still feels anger and holds a grudge for what happened to Nathan on Terminus Island. And while Carver doesn't trust Sam, he sees potential in her and her ability to make something of herself if given life. Meanwhile, Weaver is 100% on Team Richtofen, as he sees it as a chance at full redemption and to finally be able to rid himself of the guilt he's carried. And as for Gray, well, her feelings are complicated. On one hand, she still holds anger against Richtofen for what he put them through following Requiem's collapse. But on the other hand, with the notion that there is a chance she will never see Samantha again, she realizes that she has to come to terms with the loss of her friend. This leads to one of my favorite pieces of dialogue on the map, which I'll just let you hear for yourself.
You heard Sam. She's all that's left of Max's. Don't you want some piece of your mate to live on?
I want all of her. I fucking loved her. I don't know if I could handle something else wearing her face. I just don't.
While we've been kind of dancing around whether or not Treyarch actually wanted Gray and Sam to be in love, I am so happy for the Gray Sam fans that we finally have some direct confirmation. Black Ops 6 is far from a perfect narrative, and this split between the team isn't the most well put together, but it's these little character moments that truly make me love the Requiem crew more than most. I also really like that the crew takes internal votes, with Maya and Carver trying to make a small pact to support Sam, or Weaver telling Maya she doesn't really get a vote since she wasn't there in Cold War. And I think all of these dialogues really shade in the crew. Anyways, back to the quest. So once in the room, you'll notice a bunch of server equipment with a dossier on it, as well as an open receptacle and one lonely computer that is turned on. So let's start with the dossier and the computer. Interacting with the folder will throw up a text file on screen that explains one of the items brought back by Samantha Maxis after her short stay in the Dark Ether following Funny Base Zed. What you should be paying attention to is the number of the artifact, which ranges from 1 to 6, and the date associated. So, for example, one item is from June of 1985, and its item number is 6, so you'd want to remember that it is 6 and 6. Around the Executive Suite, there are 3 other similar files that hold different dates, so find them all until you have 4 numbers. What you'll want to do is organize your numbers from oldest to most recent. So if you have, say, numbers from June, September, October, and November, that's how you'll organize them. Take them over to the computer in the Portal Lab, and if done correctly, you'll get a message on the screen saying lockdown lifted. From here, head to sublevel 10, and in the control center, there will be a comically large button that, when interacted with, will start a charge-up sequence that will serve to power up the Gorg effects. Once started, 5 quantum vermin will spawn that can only be killed by the Gorg effects to charge the module. Once charged, you can wait a few seconds afterward, and you'll be able to grab the energy, and the Gorg effects will be empowered. Here is where I'll cut to mention a small side Easter egg that I didn't mention earlier. If you notice above the big red button, there's a score counter. If you get that score counter to 2,000, you get a free Perca-Cola. So, while you can power up the Gorg effects now, I recommend doing a couple of other things beforehand. This includes heading over to the quantum computing and buying Melee Macchiato to melee this station, as I mentioned during the caster turret section. Inside is a brain that you must ferry from this area to the portal lab before the brain deteriorates in your hand. Also in quantum computing, you'll want to either go from that floor or from the hole in the floor on Mutant Research to look at this ledge and shoot it with a charge shot from the Gorg effects. Doing so correctly will decapitate the corpse of Dr. Mortimer Hawkins. This fungal head must be cleansed, and to do this, you will have to fill one of the several mop buckets around the map using the sprinkler systems. While you can head over to the android assembly, move the bucket, and then use a Molotov to trigger the sprinkler system yourself, the faster way to do it is actually all the way at the beginning of your match. If you move this bucket before crossing the metal detectors, as soon as you do, the sprinklers will go off and fill it up preemptively, making the step much easier. Once cleansed, the head becomes a soul box that will be needed later, but I have a way that should make this easier for you to knock out. Alright, with all these boxes ticked, now here's what I recommend doing. Make sure the portal room is open, the quantum vermin have been exterminated, Klaus has been assembled and powered on, the brain has been placed, and you have the fungal head ready to go on the holy water. After Klaus beep boops on his terminal, a special SAM trial will spawn, so go get the charge for the Gorg effects, and make sure to not shoot it at all from this point forward. Grab the fungal head from the mop bucket and carry it to Klaus, dodging the spoopy scary spirit that chases you. Once you reach Klaus, he'll ask you to escort him to Dark Entity to hack the SAM trial. When he arrives, buy the trial and do it as normal, charging up the fungal head for the step, and also getting a good reward at the same time. By the time the trial wraps up, Dr. Hawkins should reanimate, and Klaus will fly over to the portal lab, where you can follow him in. The portal will have a bunch of ether crystals all over it, so using a charge shot from the empowered Gorg effects, shoot the crystals and then shove the head into the portal, which will auto-complete the next 2 steps in rapid succession. Klaus will mention that the portal needs one last thing, 4 vacuum tubes, to be inserted into the panel in order to complete the final charge-up. With all of these steps, several blue Janus boxes that were previously locked will now open, and you can pick up these vacuum devices, which will take up your tactical slot. Around the map, there will be floating items that you must throw these tubes at to capture them, so get looking. Once all 4 are collected, head back to the portal lab and insert them into the device. This will begin a short lockdown sequence where you must pull levers around the room as they turn on to fully power the portal. With this done, the quest is complete, and you can put your team up to a vote to enter the point of no return. And finally, we've reached the endpoint. As you enter, the device that powers the Sentinel artifact lies in front of you, and you'll notice a vial of Samantha Maxis' DNA already inserted. Interacting with the machine will put up another vote, asking you and your team to decide between helping Sam or helping Richtofen. If you vote for Richtofen, you'll smash the Maxis DNA and replace it with Richtofen's family's DNA, and the lift will start. If you vote to help Sam, the lift will just immediately take off. When you make your choice, the character you choose to help will thank you, while the opposite will immediately lambast you and tell you to prepare for the fight ahead. So, yes, this means we have 2 different boss fights to discuss, and we'll be tackling the Sam one first, as this is the one I believe Treyarch intends for you to do on your first go-through. Scored to a new track called Samantha's Wrath by Tori Letzler, the lift will begin rising, and zombies will spawn out of a portal above. You'll stop on one floor, where you must fill up 3 LTG-looking devices while Sam will question your convictions. She'll bring up how she can't believe we would side with the man who tortured us, but Richtofen will clap back, reminding her of her white lie to get us to this point. Once the 3 are charged up, Richtofen will yell at you to hop back on the lift to ascend to the next floor. Once there, Ethereum crystals will be blocking energy from flowing to the roof, so you'll have to run around the floor and break the crystals. Circling back to the lift, you'll start ascending to the roof, and the boss fight will truly begin. A giant portal will open in the sky, and Sam herself will descend down. Sam has a few attacks to be wary of. First and foremost, since she flies around the roof in a circle, occasionally she will stop and shoot purple lasers out of her eyes, which will do massive damage. These can be easily avoided by sliding out of the way, but be wary of the stray zombies that can spawn periodically. Another attack she has is to float to the center of the arena to take young Anakin Skywalker's best advice.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
While she spins, she'll spew out electric pools similar to Uberklaus all around the arena, which can be avoided by simply hopping up on the ventilation units strewn about the arena. And her final attack to mention for this first phase, she will occasionally stop circling the arena to fire her big fuck you laser out at you, which will target players. When it stops, 4 red lights will open up around her eye, which are her critical points. While open, you can deal extra damage to her crit spots, which will break. Be careful not to stand directly under her during this, as the exhaust from her floating will deal persistent damage to you. After a short period of time, the vents will close, and she will resume her attack pattern. If you break all 4 of her crit points, her eye will become a persistent crit point, which can also be broken to do major damage. If you want to damage her a bit more frequently, you can hit her while she spins around shooting the electricity, but this will be non-critical damage, so I wouldn't even advise it. If you manage to get her health to a certain threshold, or the equivalent would be to destroy her eye light 2 times, plus breaking 2 of the smaller red lights, she will stop and open a portal to give you a break and transition into the next phase. A SAM trial will spawn with a few different objectives, including Kill Fest, Critical Kills, Kill on Location, or Hold Location. If you finish successfully, you'll be rewarded with a free perk. If not, you'll get one of the griefs from Grief, including Weapon Nerfy, and even the Dastardly Weapon Carousel if you're supremely unlucky. After the conclusion of the trial, Sam will return with mostly the same attack pattern, but with some minor changes, as well as one new move. Her spin has evolved to where she will spin around the arena like a top, spewing electricity everywhere, so the best way to dodge that is to just keep in mind the direction she is moving in. Her other attack that has been upgraded is her laser beams, which will now fire a few extra shots, guaranteeing a down or loss of Dying Wish if you aren't careful. And her new move this time is to disappear in a portal mid-phase, leaving behind 3 portals. 2 of them will drop a shitload of zombies, while the last will have Sam floating down from. If you're following along, you'll be 2 shutdowns of a red eye and a half, so keep this pattern up and you'll reach a decision point. If you break her red eye 4 times in total, no matter how much health she has left, she will instantly die. But let's say you haven't been able to do that. So once her health gets super low, she'll disappear again, and you'll have another SAM trial to complete. In the final phase, she'll introduce an attack that, if it hits you, will launch you up into the sky, where you can either parachute to safety, or just tank the fall with stamina up. When Sam finally dies, she'll rattle off a death quote, and the outro will begin. But before we get there, there's a whole other boss fight we gotta talk about, so you're gonna just have to wait to see how it ends. Scored to I Was the Nicest One, also by Tori Letzler, everything after you vote to help Sam plays out the exact same. Just instead, some zombie spawns are replaced by Commando Klauses. When you reach the roof, Richtofen will be waiting for you inside his own Klaus mech suit. So his fight is split up into 2 distinct parts, just like a regular Uberklaus. He's a pretty tanky version of that, but obeys all the same rules, so aim for the shield generators and avoid the electricity pulls he shoots out. Throughout the fight, instead of spawning zombies, Commando Klauses and Uberklaus cores will spawn as opposed to regular zombies, which can be a blessing or a curse depending on how you look at it. When the mech's health hits 0, Richtofen will shoot out.
You thought I would run? I've got a jetpack, motherfuckers!
Yeah, so he'll eject from the mech with a jetpack on and his trusty Wunderwaffe DG2. And this time, he's not fucking around. He can fully break your 3 plates in one shot and down or send you into Dying Wish in another, making him a total doucher. Not just that, he'll also throw down blast traps and shock charges around the arena that can damage you as well. Occasionally, he'll fly away and come back to do bombing runs where he drops grenades across a specific portion of the arena, which you'll know is happening when you hear a swooping noise. This boss fight is incredibly hard and requires a lot of patience and locked-in-ness that some Zombies fans do not possess. However, if you want to make this really a cakewalk, have your team bring an Ether Shroud with extra charge and Group Shroud, and have everyone bring power kegs to constantly stay in Ether Shroud to damage him. Since you'll all be cloaked, if you have a 4-player match, that's 8 Ether Shrouds worth of damage. Repeat this until that rat bastard drops dead, and you'll get the final cutscene. Both cutscenes start and end the same way, with only the middle section being different. So let's start with the helping Richtofen ending. The Sentinel artifact will activate, absorbing our crew into the Dark Ether and opening up a galaxy scene above it. As Richtofen runs past Sam's empty core, 2 wisps will float out and materialize into Richtofen's family, which he will run to greet. He'll stare off into the Virginian expanse as the sun sets, smiling at the reunification of his family. Meanwhile, in the Helping Sam ending, after the crew disappears, an orb will shoot out of the galaxy and begin to synthesize a new Samantha Maxis. Sam will levitate near and send her essence into the body, bringing it to life and finally ending her existence as our mechanic ally. She'll look off into the distance before staring at the camera with a sly grin as her eyes glow purple, alluding to a potential future in the story. After a short fade to black in both cutscenes, the game will go from an IGC to a pre-rendered cutscene. Our crew will land in a darker version of the Janus Towers lobby, when suddenly footsteps begin to echo out. Out of the darkness comes new versions of Edward Richtofen, Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, and Takio Masaki. No! Yep, and after that reveal, Richtofen says,
Welcome to the party.
After this incredibly cringy line of dialogue, the cutscene will end, leaving off as we head into Black Ops 7. I have a lot of thoughts about this, most of which are negative, by the way, which may be overplaying my hand a little bit, but oh well. Before we get into any more story for this map, I want to talk about what I love about both boss fights, because I think these are 2 truly great fights to cap off a year of fantastic bosses. I'll start with Richtofen, actually, because I think he's been the most community maligned, which I think I am opposed to. His difficulty is actually why I like it so much. Since he's an entirely optional fight, and Sam is significantly easier, I think having a fight that truly puts you to the test is fantastic. I've only successfully done this fight 2 times, but the first was a fantastic victory. After 3 straight fails, my friend and I learned, and finally on that 4th attempt, we absolutely bodied Ricky T. The satisfaction we felt after that win is something I have hardly felt in Zombies, and I'm not sure when I'll catch that high again. As far as it goes for Sam, while a more simplistic affair, I truly enjoy the flow of this fight, and also that special win condition. When I learned that you could end the fight early, it made the whole experience so much more enjoyable, as I was able to control the entire fight the entire time. The last thing to mention here, before I move on to intel from the map, is the final side Easter egg that I left out earlier. Just like Shattered Veil, both boss fights feature a round 100 variant that is much harder than the standard version. Alright, with that covered, let's get into the intel for this map. While it's not nearly as good as the intel on Shattered Veil, I think there are some really nice things in this one. So we'll start with Mom Genes, which involves Gray making a startling discovery. Inside the locked lab in the Mutant Research Lab, there's a radio where Gray discovers the revelation we received in the Season 3 cutscene of Modern Warfare Zombies. While they were with Requiem, Richtofen took the DNA of everyone involved, including Maxis, and, disturbingly, this included her eggs. Gray, in an incredible performance from Abigail Marlowe, goes absolutely ballistic in front of Maya. They trash the entire lab and resolve to take it out on Richtofen now that they have the power to do so. Marlowe's acting in this intel is incredibly raw, and while I still miss Amy Louise Pemberton, she absolutely nailed it here. Next, we'll mix together a couple pieces of intel: Whistleblower, Misdirection Part 1, and Misdirection Part 2. In this saga, Sam pulls Weaver aside to try and win some sympathy out of him by telling him the truth about the accident that killed Richtofen's family. She tells him that while he served in Vietnam, Richtofen met a man by the name of Kruger, who recruited him into the CIA. When Richtofen joined the Directorate of Operations, he met Mary, whom he would eventually marry. But unfortunately for her, she caught wind of Kruger's illegal operations, which included funneling weapons from the CIA to warlords in Avalon. Mary didn't tell Richtofen about this to protect him from any retaliation and sought witness protection status in order to protect herself and Samuel. When Kruger caught wind of this, he found out that Maxis was the one assigned to transport her to a safe house and sprang into action. He misled both Maxis and Weaver by forging their orders. First, by lying to Weaver that the target would be by themselves, and that the family would be out of the house, and by telling Maxis to change where she took Mary and Samuel, and not to inform either the BND or Langley. All these years, all this grief, and it was all over a lie that all three fell for. I find this move in the twisty plot of Richtofen, Maxis, and Weaver to be incredibly intriguing, as it essentially wipes away blame for this specific incident for any of the parties involved. I feel like it adds another layer of complexity to Weaver and Richtofen's dynamic that really makes me buy the guilt that he feels. Some in the community feel that it's a bit of an overcomplication, and I do find some similar feelings when I look at these pieces together, but I also think that in this messy narrative of Black Ops 6, this thread is a highlight amid it all. Alright, after that, we'll change gears to some Sam-oriented ones, starting with the Forspoken. In it, the Forsaken is being tested on by none other than Sam. She forces him to teach her how to summon the power-ups, and she finally catches on. Not only that, but she mimics Zykov's voice to his shock, even going as far as to summon vermin on her own. She does this as a way of manipulating the crew into helping her, as she says that if she just asked, it would have a 97.38% chance of failing. This has been a really popular theory since the Tomb outro, where people notice the power-up names floating in the background of one of the shots, and I've been clinging onto it since I heard it. It's super fun to have this confirmed, and again adds another layer to her betrayal that I really enjoy. Getting into the home stretch here, we have Dysphoria, which again follows another plea from Sam to Richtofen for him to create her a body. While not nearly as emotional as her intel in Shattered Veil, I really like Richtofen's response. His hatred for Maxis is the true guiding factor behind his decision not to help Sam, going as far as to say it was her own hubris that drove her to try to challenge the Forsaken by herself. His actions here show us that he is deeply angry at Maxis and will take it out on Sam at every chance he gets, making their feud more believable. The final piece of intel that I really like is Great Voice from Beyond, which features Dr. Pericles Panos talking about the Great Voice, or as we have called him all year, the Shadow Benefactor. In this intel, Panos basically says, yo, check out all these locations we've got coming to Black Ops 7. And honestly, the only reason I'm tacking this one on is because I'm eating up any mention of the Shadow Benefactor we get after waiting all year. And now, for the last time in my Black Ops 6 series, it's time for fucking cool things that Black Ops 6 does that isn't necessarily big enough to get its own section, but still deserves to be mentioned. Starting off, one additional piece of intel that I wanted to throw out there is Employee of the Month, which was awarded to everyone's favorite, Dr. Revati Modi. The fact that they just lifted her radio portrait from Terminus and threw it onto some really low-quality portrait mesh is hysterical to me. Also on the intel talk, I really like that you can only collect the whistleblower intel when playing as Weaver, and Sam will actually call out to you while you're in the mutant research lab. Shifting over to dialogue, something that I really love is the Forsaken. Similar to Sam on Shattered Veil, if you spend time in Dark Entity Containment, he'll start spouting off some random bullshit that I just absolutely love. While we're on this dialogue train, I want to bring up the little bitching Richtofen does if you wrap up the Easter egg without picking up his family's DNA. He's such a shithead and just never fails to remind you of it. This next thing isn't exactly dialogue, but one of my favorite character things in this whole map is the fact that Strauss calls exfil 90% of the time, and when you look at his portrait, he's wearing Raptor 1's shades. My headcanon is that Strauss actually won them in the poker matches that they play while they wait for us to stop fucking around in the maps. To truly wrap up this character/voice bit, I just want to give the voice cast of Black Ops 6 their flowers. I know it's a bummer for everyone we lost along the way, but I have to say, everyone who has picked up a role, to the cast that stuck around from Cold War, I think the crew and our radio buddies have done fantastic all year long. It's a bummer that we're at the end, because I love this crew and I wish I had more of their interactions. I've got a couple of Easter egg related things, so we'll start first with Sam. During her boss fight, if you call in a chopper gunner, she'll actually zap it out of the sky, which is a hilarious detail and makes the streaks you choose way more interesting. And then there's the fact that if you go to continue playing after the main quest, specifically after helping Richtofen, not only will Sam go completely silent, but her hologram will also be missing from the Sam trial machine. This year has been full of little details like this, and I'm glad they didn't let up right before the end. And the last Easter egg thing here, I just want to make a note of Richtofen's game over screen. The fact that they most certainly modeled it after an Arkham game over screen is fucking gold. Like, just look at this.
That's the price you pay for trusting a fucking machine. Idiots.
From there, let's talk PAP camos. For the third map in a row, all 3 camos are absolutely fantastic. Their glow is spectacular, and the DNA vibe feels like an improved version of the Modern Warfare Zombies camo set. Somewhat related to Pack-a-Punch, the anti-gravity room may be the most fun area of the entire map. The pyramid room of Dreisendrach was the best, and the anti-gravity room is equally as fun while training. And finally, oh lord, the music. The music team went absolutely nutso ballistic on this soundtrack. Both boss fight themes, the Forsaken's theme, and the crown jewel of them all, Remember Us, sung by the original Zombies OG, Elena Sigmund. Man, oh man, they knew what they were doing with this one. As we head into Black Ops 7, I'd say I hope the sound team keeps cooking, but I know they will. Alright, time to cut the shit and get straight down to business. The ending of this map is an actual steaming pile of horse shit. I've been very forgiving this year with the story, because in truth, I have actually enjoyed it. But when I saw this cutscene on launch day, oh boy, an anger I never knew I had access to overcame my body. I have since mellowed on it a lot, and I think I am prepared to articulate why this hurts me so much. So, let's travel back to 2019, shall we? Black Ops 4 was marketed as the end of the Ether story, and more than that, it was the end of the characters we had been following since 2009. Treyarch went to significant lengths to make Togg Toten feel like the ending, including their roundtable-style interview with the voice cast of Nolan North, Fred Tatasciore, Steve Blum, and Tom Kane, which to this day still gets me emotional. Not only that, but the ending itself, which has the crew violently dying in the forest, as Nikolai explains to Child, Sam, and Eddie that the crew's mere existence is what has caused the story to persist in the way it has, combined with the final walk telling you as the player to let go of the characters so they can go in peace. It is a fantastic ending with as much flair and honor to the characters that 2019 Treyarch could muster while they were stretched incredibly thin. Fast forward to now, we've spent all year with a new crew, getting to actually know them beyond their radio days in Cold War, and bam! We're slapped in the face with the return of characters who shouldn't even be there. Sure, you can point out that Craig Houston left this opportunity open all those years ago, but it's incredibly disappointing to see them fall back on it so soon. We got so little development for the Black Ops 6 crew, so how the hell is Black Ops 7 going to balance 8 characters and make sure that Requiem isn't going to get overshadowed by the new guys? At this rate, I would have preferred that we just skipped to MWZ and had Requiem die off, because it would have been a better ending than these guys being here. Now, I'm sure Black Ops 7 will explain their return, but for a handful of reasons, I do not trust these writers to have a decent enough explanation for them other than, these are the characters that people like. So to bring my thoughts specifically on the ending to a close, I hate the fact that they're back so much, because it feels like for the people who love Cold War, and even this game as well, our dedication wasn't rewarded in the slightest. If there are any silver linings, when it leaked earlier this year that the OG characters were coming back, I thought that 100% they were going to kill off Requiem in favor of their return. But I have to say, the fact that Requiem will be an equal part of Black Ops 7 does give me a small glimmer of hope for their future, because I truly love these characters and have since they were introduced in 2020. Alright, moving on specifically from the cutscene and now onto the endings themselves, I think they both kind of suck. In this specific moment, that is. Mostly because we don't know which one is canon and will even be relevant to Black Ops 7. Like, we either get a decent ending where Richtofen gets his family back, or an ending where Samantha Maxis has been replaced by an actual skinwalker. But we have not even an inkling which one is canon, and probably won't for a long time, which is super disappointing to me. Honestly, the fact that the ending of Black Ops 6 isn't even an actual ending, and is in fact a setup for the next chapter of the story, bums me out a lot. Like, even though Cold War also set up its follow-up, it also ended every plot thread that Cold War had, and gave us a proper conclusion to that story. Now, let's do a little rapid fire of other story-related complaints, starting with the number of plot threads that have gone absolutely nowhere or didn't end up meaning anything. It's just so perplexing. All the Chaos stuff, the Vanguard ties, among so many other things that were brought up and just forgotten about. It's like, why did you even do that? The Sentinel artifact being brought back, but it doesn't operate at all like it did previously, and instead it's just a MacGuffin used for the plot. Why, man? After that, let's get into the size of our crew. There are way too many characters on this map, and besides our crew, Sam and Richtofen, none of them get any time to shine. Like, Ravenov and Peck should definitely be way bigger parts of this, considering they are also among the characters from Cold War. I think the characters who get this the absolute worst are Blanchard and Panos, as their storyline ends in a separate cliffhanger from the quest that can also be entirely avoided since you don't need the upgraded wonder weapon for the Easter egg. Like, the choice made there doesn't even have an effect on the ending, so like, does it even matter to the story? Will Treyarch even pick one? I don't mind the fact that their story takes a back seat, but the fact that it can be entirely avoided, that I just can't stand for. Also, similarly to the ending, there is nothing that indicates what the canon ending to this thread is, so as far as we know, both Panos and Blanchard are alive and singing Kumbaya together while we go to zombies' hell. Alright, in our last story point, the overemphasis on choice. I really enjoy the dialogue between Sam and Richtofen as they try to convince us to help them. But what I think pushes it over the edge is when every other character in the team has to beat you over the head telling you to choose. Ravenov talks to Weaver about choosing. He and Peck talk to Maya, and he also talks to Carver. It's like, okay guys, I get it. I have to choose between the two evils. Also, the choice made doesn't reflect the characters because we, the players, make it so. So, like, while I like the dialogue as I mentioned earlier, I think it is simply just too much at some point. Alright, getting into real gameplay complaints, it's time we finally talk about the Gorgafx variant. Now, this variant, the Gorgafx N, isn't terrible at all. In fact, I think it's better than the C, but the mere thought of having to kill Blanchard means it has a place here. So, if you want to do this despicable act, after talking to Blanchard and getting the wonder weapon, head to quantum computing. You'll find a Strauss counter, and at this point, if you pick it up, you will be locked onto the Panos path. With this in hand, you'll want to use it until you get into the high red zone, at which point you'll want to look for an item that you'll need to hit with the charge shot of the Gorgafx. Once done correctly, you can grab the essence vial and then set out to grab 3 distinct parts. The first is these fans in the Dark Entity containment. After that, you'll grab the extra fume hood from the hidden lab in Mutant Research. And finally, the last piece is these tubes from the outer walkway on the quantum computing floor. With these pieces combined, take them up to Blanchard's door and build the device. He'll open the flap and call you a piece of shit for betraying him, after which you place the vial on top of the device and a defense step will start. His room will begin filling with a green gas, choking Blanchard out as zombies and Commando Klauses try to stop the device. When finished, the door will open and Blanchard will stumble out and say, "I don't feel so good, Mr. Requiem Strike Team," before absolutely disintegrating into thin air. With the tragedy behind you, grab the Blanchard Essence Vial and take it back to the hidden lab. Place it on the hood to the right of where the fungus was originally and craft your upgrade. Panos will basically say, "Thanks for killing him, dumbass," and totally peace out of the map. So not only did Panos not really do anything, you killed the sweetest zombies character ever made for a pretty decent wonder weapon. Not sure the trade was worth it at all, to be honest. The Gorgafex N has a similar ability to the Raygun Mark II-R, where when you use the charge shot, it will leave behind a pool of acid that will deal damage to zombies walking through it. When upgraded, it becomes the Gorgafex Necrodystonia, and just like the Corpse Bloater, just enhances the base version's capabilities. Before we move on, I have a little story to tell. On launch day, my friend and I were figuring out the map on our own, but we're also waiting for a guide to drop. Once we got a guide to upgrading the weapon, we started following it without any questions at all. Well, when we got to the end, we finally realized, oh, are we killing Blanchard? And the horror on our faces when he disappeared into thin air could never be recreated. Alright, on to the last few major gameplay things, starting with the abrupt Doppelgast spam in the high rounds. Now, I don't hate the Doppelgast. In fact, they're some of my favorite enemies from Black Ops 6. But I think it's a bit of a balance anomaly that after round 22, you can just get upwards of 4 Doppelgasts per round, and you're kind of just expected to deal with it. With the Uberklaus nerf now, it's a bit more manageable, but still, I think there should be some easing into it. And on that note, the Uberklaus nerf. I mentioned this a little in the recap note, but this nerf was way too far. I can understand making them do like 25 to 30 damage every few seconds while you're standing in the electric pools, but dropping it to like 15? That's ridiculous. I think it makes the Uberklaus border on a bit of a more boring enemy, unfortunately. And before we get into the smaller things, I need to talk about the Super Easter Egg. The lack of a Super Easter Egg in this game is really disappointing. I know that the community has pointed to that Kevin Drew tweet where he replied to Lee Ross, but honestly, I don't really think that is involved, as he never explicitly mentioned a Super Easter Egg reward. But the lack of anything, like not even the exact same reward as Cold War, that just hurts. And if they give us a reward for completing every quest across Black Ops 6 and 7, I am going to be even more pissed off. Alright, now on to the minor things, starting with this little gaff. When you use the Ether Blade, you can actually notice that it isn't actually attached to the character's hand and can clip through your fingers. This is so insanely small, but I noticed it upon my very first match. Also, on the topic of the Ether Blade, the fact that only one player can have it, and if you accidentally drop it, it's completely gone, which really sucks. Oh, and I should note that this Easter egg was actually hard-locked until the Mr. Peaks field upgrade was released on August 19th, which, how does that even happen? Whoever plans this stuff in this franchise content-wise should really double-check with the gameplay team. Obviously, this doesn't matter as much now that it's so long after that, but that was still worth mentioning to me. And the final thing to mention is that line of dialogue from Richtofen at the end of Shattered Veil. Bro had a plan? What was it? Beg Requiem to help him? Like, please, 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 please. Just, come on, man. And here we are at the end of my Black Ops 6 review series. Reckoning is a very fun experience that is dragged down to the depths of the dark ether by its ending. It's one of the most distinct maps we've gotten in the modern age from a gameplay stance, its quest and dual boss fight setup, and its enemies, regardless of the nerf, all make this an incredible experience. So with that in mind, let's get into a small ranking for Black Ops 6 now that it's over. In last place, we've got Liberty Falls. To this day, I do not hate this map at all, and I think it's an incredibly fun map to throw on if you don't have time for a more complex map, but its simplicity is also its detriment. However, the jet gun still fucking rocks, and I am so glad it was finally able to get over being one of the worst wonder weapons in COD Zombies history. In 5th place, we have the Tomb. Now, I stand by the fact that this map is incredibly overhated, but I do think it still deserves to be down here with Liberty Falls. Its story really drags it down, and if it were a little bit bigger in scope and the quest was a bit more unique, I think it could compete, but unfortunately, a fun wonder weapon and an interesting setting can't save it. Next, in 4th, we have Terminus. This is where it gets really hard for me, because I think Terminus is such a fantastic launch map, and one that uses the new mechanics of Black Ops 6 to its best. It's the perfect reintroduction to zombies after Vanguard and MWZ, but I just have so much more fun playing the other 3 maps. In 3rd, we have Reckoning. Despite the ending and overall jankiness of the story, this map's gameplay is incredibly fun, and like I mentioned, its quest setup and boss fights make it a worthy addition. And ultimately, it's a phenomenal ending from a gameplay stance to an incredible year of zombies. Getting into the top 2, we have Citadel des Morts. This map is simply to die for. The swords are amazing, the setting is fantastic, the story is fun and fills that adventure niche that zombies needs, and also the Guardian, dude. One of the best boss fights we have ever gotten in zombies history for sure. Sure, you can't explore much of the castle, but honestly, that is so secondary to everything else that makes this map so much fun, I can totally look past it. And finally, numero uno, Shattered Veil. This map is the crown jewel of Black Ops 6. The Z-Rex is also in the upper echelon of zombies bosses, the wonder weapons, despite being reused, are a ton of fun, and the crescendo of the story was incredible after following it all year. The overall package is so much fun, and it's the map that I have easily played the most in this game for all the reasons I just listed. And for the final bit of this outro, what comes next for the Big Sam channel? Well, I'm not really sure. When this map dropped, I said that I didn't want to review nor even play Black Ops 7, but as information has been released and the Zombies beta that happened earlier this month, I kind of feel the winds of change. I can't promise an Ashes of the Damned review, but what I can say is that if the map lives up to my expectations, it'll definitely happen. But in the event that the map absolutely sucks, I don't intend to let the channel die. If Black Ops 7 doesn't satisfy me creatively, then I do have some plans. This includes a re-review of Cold War now that we are 5 years past its launch, and I've grown a lot as a person and as a creator. I'm also open to other ideas, so if you've got something you'd like to hear me yap about, please let me know. This outro is significantly longer than any of my other videos, but really quick, I just wanted to express my gratitude to you guys. I've had an incredible time working with my friends and making these videos over the last year, and I truly can't say thank you enough for how well these videos have been received. So thank you for all your comments, your interactions, and you sticking with Lil Ol Me as we navigated this year. Thank you so much for watching this meaty video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everyone.